Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to Cinema Sitdown. I'm joined with some excellent guests here today, as we will be back just in a second to talk about a almost disturbing type movie, a very thought-provoking type movie, and we'll get into it right after this intro.
I have a lot of thoughts.
All right, I am joined with some wonderful guests. If y'all would like to introduce yourselves.
Hey, I'm Natalie.
Leilani.
Thomas?
I'm Sam.
And we recently just got horrified. I mean, just got done watching a movie, and
I'm traumatized.
shoot, just I guess we can start with some hot takes / initial opinions / reactions.
This is one of the best movies I've ever seen.
For real?
Whoa.
Yeah, this
Natalie
is a
will
good
disagree
movie.
with you on that statement.
That was
So
Natalie has
disagree,
different
I dare you.
I just don't like this movie. I wasn't a fan of the characters, but because they were just so bad, I just didn't like watching them. But if you think objectively this movie is good, that's cool.
Okay, here are the reasons why I think this movie is really good. They do a lot of things against tropes, which I'm a big fan of.
Okay.
If you subvert my expectations, that's a good movie alone, which is probably not the best qualifier, but also the lighting's really good, the editing is really solid. Shows how much of an editor that I am. There's a shot right at the beginning of the movie where the dog is walking around the house and he goes into the next room, and they cut it so well that the dog's steps match. That's a lot easier to do with people. When you do that with a dog, my hat's off to you. I was very impressed by that.
Did you hear the audio though in the beginning and on the sailboat?
That was funny.
What do you mean?
Okay, so in the beginning, their audio, it did not sound like they were in the car.
Oh, no,
when
not
they
at
were
all.
like
It was
when
a
they
very
showed them
good
in the car,
ADR.
that was
I
okay.
remember that.
But like the sailboat, okay, that one was probably my favorite part because it was so bad. It was like they just straight put reverb on it.
Oh, when
and
they were
didn't
putting the
echo,
boat
didn't
into the
anything
water?
Like, yeah, you
Okay.
could hear
Yeah,
the
you're
effects
right.
lower as they approach.
You can also, if I remember correctly, you can also hear that there's ADR conversation talking about whatever, and then there's people talking in the same scene over it. Like
Some of the voice lines, I did notice that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was,
Yeah.
in my brain I was justifying it as, oh, that's the other two guys having a conversation, but that's not important. We're just hearing from the kid and the dad. So that's why we're not hearing the others as much. But no, you're right. The ADR in this movie is subpar, but I don't think that diminishes it. Also, I'm not an audio guy.
I'm not either, but
If audio
I
is
just love
passable,
it.
then I'm okay with it.
I'm usually the big audio guy when it comes to working
Well,
on
if
things
it's
like
really bad, but I think that was.
If
it was
those are the ways
acceptable.
that you decided to critique the movie, then I can understand why you liked it more. But that plot was just crazy.
Oh yeah.
that.
you know.
I really
Yeah, how'd you guys feel?
I'm not a fan of generally home invasion movies because they give me such intense amounts of anxiety.
Okay.
But
fair.
I thought this one was really interesting. Well, obviously because they break the fourth wall a bunch of times.
That was on.
Which was honestly
yeah.
probably my favorite part.
Epic.
When
And
he-
then
Sorry.
Yeah.
when the way that they edit it to make it was uncomfortably real, because I don't know how to explain it, but it felt way more realistic than a typical horror film. Usually horror films are a lot of cuts, a lot of craziness, a lot of chaos, a lot of fear that's supposed to make you uncomfortable. This was just you're watching it happen. It felt like we were watching it from the outside in, or something like that. You know what I mean?
There was I wish I had timed it, and if I were gonna watch it again, I would time this shot. It's the shot, spoilers, after they kill the kid.
Is it the one with the lady?
And she's tied up.
We talked about that.
One shot, she gets up. This is not a fast movement either. She is tied up both hands and knees, gets up, hops over to the TV, struggles with that for a while, finally turns it off, sits on the floor for probably a minute and a half, just completely despondent, then struggles to get over to the couch, struggles to stand up, leaves the room, hops out of the room very slowly. Then the husband wakes up, George wakes up, he gets up, has kind of a moment to himself that lasts probably a minute, then she comes back and she's freed herself from the binding, she comes back in, and all of this happens in a single shot, in a single take. There's not a cutaway. It's probably, wish I had timed it, It's probably close to 10 minutes.
It felt like a whole.
It's
was a
I know
long
such
exactly what
a
you're talking
long
about.
shot, and I was just thinking, like, I would never write this into anything I ever make.
Yeah.
This would be a disaster. This would take so long. Like, imagine, like, you get 90% of the way through that shot and someone screws up. I'm like, gotta go again.
One person sneezes
Yeah.
right
They
at the
probably
very
saw
end.
it and were like, "Oh, no one messed up. We'll use the whole thing." Like,
Yeah.
Can we talk about how much struggle that woman went through alone? That was crazy.
I want to talk about hot takes. This is because of men. That's it. Because she
Two boys
already
that
knew,
wanna play golf.
like these two kids came up. They're like boys. I don't know how old they are. I have no idea. Could not even begin to tell you. They're like being pushy, and she's, you know, usually with men being pushy, you're trying to like be respectful so they don't freak out on you. And then the husband comes back and she's had enough. She's trying to get them to come out, like leave. And he's like, it's fine. No, you're fine. It's nothing. We'll let them stay for a minute. And then everything happens. If he just listened to her and kicked them out, it would have been fine. Probably not. It probably wouldn't have been fine. But like,
Right, I was
how
gonna
would we
say,
know?
Totally different.
but would they have left? Because
No.
obviously
I don't
he was
know.
trying to say like, okay, you guys like need to leave, but they weren't leaving. So even if he tried
I mean,
harder,
still, but I don't know.
Come
I
to
feel like
find
if you
out,
just given them the eggs and they would have left. Probably not.
No.
But
yeah, they
I
had
don't
already
know.
did stuff to the neighbors. Like
Well,
the neighbors, they had
I
already
was gonna
got to
say
them.
it's
so.
not like the game. It's not like this happened because it's not like they were spiteful because of the eggs. They were here to play this game, this
Oh, yeah.
suggested
I
game.
know.
So they're gonna play it no matter what. I think that first bit is probably their first test or whatever. Because then
I guess.
at the end of the movie, they go to the next house that they find out, and they do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They go, oh, you know, and the lady that we just dumped off that boat, she needs some eggs.
She
Because we
needs
dropped
eggs.
all her eggs and then killed her kid and husband.
And her, we drowned her. Sorry.
And then-
Oh, and the dog. We can't forget Lucky.
oh
my
lucky.
God.
Peace, little buddy.
I try to forget.
Yeah.
I'm shocked. Okay, if you don't like violence, this is not the movie for you. I'm dead shocked that they have a shot of a not actual dog, but what
The
appears
dog
to be
falling?
a dog's corpse falling limp out of the back of a car, and it does not cut away. It doesn't show the kid getting killed. It doesn't really show George getting killed. It really doesn't show any violence. Has a lot of implied violence, and then it's just like boom, dead dog. I was not.
yeah,
I was not
I mean,
even
you didn't get
expecting
to
that.
witness.
You're gonna see that
You
dog
didn't
dead
witness
for
it
sure.
being killed. You just heard it
Yeah.
die.
Again, a
True,
lot of
did hear
implied violence.
I don't know. I think I don't know why I like that about the movie, but I thought it was an interesting concept. I think it was.
I
It's
think.
it. Sorry.
No, you're good.
So I think it's a lot more interesting when it's implied because it kind of you're like, oh shoot, did that happen? Especially
Yeah.
when you're trying to hold tension.
yeah, I
very
didn't
good.
want
I
to see
was-
the kid
yeah.
get shot. I didn't
No.
want to see that
No.
part.
You just come back and there's blood on the walls. Kid's dead.
I'm glad you brought up that extended long one take shot that they had earlier though, because I think that's kind of like helps to hint at the theme of the movie. I think some of those shots, the way they were shot, and like kind of how some of the shots seemed like they were just going on for a long time, is to kind of put us in the movie. I feel like we are kind of like a part of the crime. Like the way this movie is set up is like you as the viewer, you kind of are on the side of those two guys. You're like complacent with this crime. You're like
Right.
literally watching it happen.
Yeah.
All the like every little detail, even her struggling to stand up. You've seen it all go down, and you chose to stay there, and you chose to basically be a part of this game.
That was.
And that's kind of like
When we were looking things up, like you had said, when we were looking things up after, it was we found that it was like a commentary on how us as people witness a lot of horrible, tragic things happen, but we don't really think of it as like actually happening, because if it's not happening to us, it's not happening.
that right there.
And so it's supposed to kind of let us be like, this is what you do, though. This is what you want. This is what happens. Like
So-
this happens to people all the time, but we don't really think much of it. And so it's kind of and also it was like what was a commentary on how the like viewers like have an expectation for horror films.
They have an expectation for a happy ending for the people involved.
Well, not just happy ending, but
Well, at least one of the people
like
surviving.
the violence. I think.
No,
who-
yeah,
who
we were
mentioned
looking
that?
into it, and they were saying something about the director and how they wanted to approach this film, and talking about like just horror and like violence is expected in horror movies, and people are like they're okay with seeing that content, and they kind of like reach for it. And the director's anti-horror, anti-violence. If that helps you take this movie in any way.
In
'Cause
certain ways.
Yeah.
And
I
even
don't know
then,
if he did
the
it well.
only violence that's shown is when she grabs the gun and shoots. He calls him so many names, Peter.
Tubby or whatever. Yeah.
He shoots Peter, and I also something else that I just talking about the scene I really appreciate is that he calls watch out after the gun is already shot.
I did notice that. It was a little weird.
Which is like, I was saying to him, I was like, that feels a little bit silly.
movie?
But also, in reality, if that were going to happen, you probably wouldn't have time to say watch out before they fire. You know, grab the gun, bang. What do you have, half a second?
I
So
feel like that
I like
goes
that
with
detail.
his, yeah.
But the
his
only time
character.
that they actually show violence, he goes back. He quite literally just rewinds time to earlier in the movie before that happens and then knows how to subvert it. That's the only time that they actually show the violence.
That was
Yeah,
a really
'cause-
interesting thing that they did. I thought it was cool.
Even if you think about it, when he originally hit the dad with the club, technically they kind of like cut away
didn't
from it just
see
a
it.
little
They
bit.
just-
Yeah,
they
you don't actually
show-
see the connect of the
Yeah.
club hitting
He
the
hits
leg.
it in the leg. They don't even show him swing it.
Yeah, see, literally.
Again, he's like,
Yeah, I
hey,
think he
watch
showed
out,
it
and he's
as
got it
well.
like he's going to, and then you see the dad turn around and go down, and that's all you see.
Same
Yeah.
with the dog. You only hear the dog
Yeah, it's.
That was
until
sad.
you see the dog fall out the.
We also
yeah.
don't see girlie drown. You just kind of see her fall off a boat.
Yeah.
You don't even see
No,
her
we
go
don't
into the
even see
water.
her
She just
afterwards.
disappears.
Knowing more what the point of this movie was, that makes a lot more sense. But the fact that I was so expecting her to just be like, oh, I lived, and then like something, like I was really thinking like the boom arm on the back of the boat would like swing
Yeah,
around
she
and
had
knock
the
him off,
knife.
and it'd be like, oh, that's the end.
Yeah, I thought she was gonna like stab one
Right.
and then swing the thing and knock the other one
So-
off, and then.
And I think that's again
Yeah.
what it is them saying like, you expect this to happen because this is how, not even just how horror movies, this is how movies work. We set up this knife at the very beginning. First 5 minutes, the kid mentions the knife. That's your Chekhov's gun. They remind you of it. There's a shot of it later falling into the boat. So then by the time we get back to the boat, you go, oh, well, we know that she's going to get the knife and she's going to escape. So she has the knife, and then they casually just like, oh, you got a knife? Cool.
They even like applauded her resilience to continue fighting to live. What did you say? It was like that's like Olympic level spirit or something. They said because they were like they knew that they were gonna win, but they still were like, "You're still going? Wow!
Bravo!
Congratulations!
With all
We're
hope
gonna kill you
lost.
anyways. So sorry." It's a movie.
That's a good movie. I love that movie.
It's a movie. I
I'm
will
glad,
say
I'm
that.
glad you brought this to us today.
You know,
I would
I-
never have found this on my own.
I thought it was a little different. I haven't actually watched
Yeah,
this
why'd you
movie in
pick
like
this movie?
it's been like 10 years since I watched this movie, and I just had like vague memories. I was like, it's these two dudes, and they were acting super nice, but then they were like doing all types of messed up stuff, and it took me forever to even find the name. I'm like, I was literally searching on Google, two guys break in the house, and then I finally found it, and I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna watch it though. I'm not gonna watch it. We all watch it again together. And so this was my first time in like 10
many
years.
like
So
10 years?
spoilers when they get to the TV remote. Like, I don't know, it literally blew my mind.
Yeah, you
I
were on
moved
the
forward
edge
in
of
my
your
seat.
seat.
Yeah.
I was looking around, I was like, what's happening?
Because it pauses, it doesn't immediately rewind. It pauses and stops on that frame for like a couple of seconds. And then
he's looking
it
for
starts
a
to
remote.
rewind, and I could hear, I sit a little bit further up in the room, I can hear a bunch of people behind me kind of like move to try and see like if somebody paused it or like
Oh,
what
yeah.
happened.
Yeah, that's
I thought
funny.
something happened. I was like, why did we pause?
Right.
Because it froze for a second. I was like very confused. I was
Yeah.
like, did someone sit on the remote? What happened?
Yeah.
It was cool. It was definitely, I don't know, it was something.
The first time they broke the first wall, that was the first time I was like, oh, this is a good movie. And
Yeah.
I just want to go back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Make it
when he
knock
was
in the
like,
middle.
what, you're on their side, right? So it's,
Yeah, he's
we're
like, you
betting
wanna
against
see
you
them win,
too. I
don't
don't
you?
know. We was like during the bet where they're betting if they're going to be alive by
He looks
9 a.m.
He looks straight to camera and basically just says, "What do you think is going to happen?" You're probably rooting for that. You're not rooting for us though.
It was cool.
And it goes back to it. It's like just the fact that he casually. Again, it's that commentary of like just casually mentioning like, oh yeah.
And like his character fits
more
like breaking the
essay
fourth
about this
wall in that moment.
His
'Cause
character
they don't
feels,
care.
to me. You know that episode of SpongeBob where he becomes normal and goes, "Hi, I'm normal." That's
Hi,
what they
how are you?
remind me of.
That
It's
is-
like
Wonderful
such an
weather
unsettling level of nicety.
Yeah. Oh, what was there something to say? Oh, their conversation at the end on the boat after, before and after they
Yes.
drowned the girl. When they're talking about like what's fiction and what's reality, it's like, oh well, the hero's family
Okay,
is
I
in
think that
reality and
conversation-
he's in fiction, stuff like that. I was expecting another wall break during that conversation because I thought like they're talking about us and them. That's what they were talking about. So expecting at least one more, but then they didn't. So.
Yeah, because they mentioned something towards the end of that conversation. I'm glad you brought that up because I think that was like about us. I think towards the end, I forget which one. I think it was Peter. He was telling like in the story because he's telling a story about a guy like named Kevin or something. He's like in the story, the guy realizes that even though one world is fake and one world is real, they're both like technically both still real
Right,
because you're
'cause
sitting there watching.
Yeah.
What he's talking about is the fact that the character in this story. I don't remember if it was the book or what. The character in the story realizes that he can't get communication across to this other reality, and that reality is reality. He is living in a fiction. So when he comes, or no, does he go to fiction? I don't know. Whichever one. He ends up in going from one to the other, and Paul, the main guy, basically proposes the question. Is like, well, aren't they both reality? Since you can see both of them are just as real as reality. So even though that it's fictional, the story is made up. The fact that it's made up doesn't matter because it still is a made-up story within reality. Thus, it is reality. Kind of implying, once again, that message of you're watching this. This is not fake. This has happened.
And you continue to watch it.
And you continue to watch it. Yeah.
We were complacent in these games.
Complacent is a strong word. I was very uncomfortable for nine tenths of this movie.
It doesn't mean you didn't watch it.
In a way, we stuck through it though. Everything that was going on, every little thing, it's like even them talking to us like we accomplices.
That's why I didn't like this movie because like I would have turned it off like because it's just I didn't like
I couldn't watch it by myself. I would say that.
I wouldn't have watched it if you didn't bring it up to us.
I would never have found this movie on my own. I'm gonna watch this again and again.
What's really funny is that I've watched literally like a video today about this movie. It was on my feed, and it was talking about movies with unfair endings, and it was like spoilers version. So it spoiled the entire movie. I didn't even know we were watching it today. I watched it in like the chair that I'm sitting in today about this movie. I was like, because then the rewind happened, and I was like, oh my god, it's the same movie.
Yeah.
I don't know, I wouldn't have watched it on my own, but since I heard it and then watched it here, it was interesting.
You also look up the ends of movies while watching them.
Listen!
What?
That happened once.
You trying to spoil it already?
I spoiled the Truman Show for myself because I couldn't finish it.
Oh, you can't see
it. It was like
ends.
while he's on the boat. We're talking about another movie on the show, but while he's on the boat looking up, does he make it?
Does he make it?
Wait like 3 minutes.
I couldn't. I was stressed out.
But yeah, I could understand I don't think that if you did this, I can't imagine going into this movie knowing how it ended because I would have just been like, well, that blows. Knowing the fact that that's how it ends.
Do you guys have a favorite scene?
Yeah.
I have so many. Come back to me. You guys go first.
The scene right at the beginning where he's asking for the eggs is so well done. Because once again, another very long shot.
It's just uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's so uncomfortable, and it is rare. Like I am not usually affected by horror or like creepy things in media.
You felt this one.
It was so
unsettling. Really pissed me off.
It was so unsettlingly real.
It did.
Boys made you hate boys.
But it was just like how realistic that like kind of feeling is.
Yeah, me too.
Like we were talking about like men, but like when it comes to like when men like when they're being pushy, and you can't be rude to them because you don't know what they're gonna do. That is like the feeling that she was feeling, and I understood that feeling. So it was uncomfortable because it felt realistic. And then that, like you said, it goes on for so long, and then I don't know.
The husband could have just been like, "Hey, get out of here."
That's why my favorite scene is when what's his name?
The kid?
Not Peter.
Paul.
Yeah, he calls her husband a pussy cat. I was like, LOL, that's funny. But his leg was broken. Like I'm gonna cut him some slack. But that was really funny. Where he. Yeah.
Melanie, what was your favorite scene?
Favorite scene? I
don't
know.
Scene that stuck out to you. I wouldn't say favorite. It's a strong word. What's the scene that stuck out to you?
Honestly, I think I don't really know if I can even find like a specific part because all of it was kind of uncomfortable. Like it was, as you said, like way too close to reality. But one thing that I did find interesting was like at the very end when he didn't enter the lady's house until she invited him in, just like how in the beginning.
It's a vampire.
Are they vampires?
I feel like he was trying to get in though.
But he wouldn't step in
his
though.
Face was
he opened the door though and was
like,
real
okay,
close
come
to
in,
her.
and then he came in and then he didn't leave.
She did invite him in though.
She did say, yeah, like I will say, yeah, that's true. That's why you don't invite people into your home. Moral of the story, don't invite anyone in ever.
Leave them out, like just keep the door closed,
like, I'll get you your eggs,
window.
Stay there.
Well, since we're reaching the end, does everyone want to, I don't want to give a overall rating per person, but maybe we can all give one sentence to sum up our experience.
Experience?
One sentence to sum up your experience with this movie. I would say I wouldn't watch it by yourself. That's what I would say.
Don't let people into your home that you don't know. Ever.
Don't let people in.
Let's go down the line.
All right.
Don't be too into golf. Makes it weird.
Makes you weird.
two nearly identical men are terrifying.
That's also
Don't
true.
trust twins.
Very true.
It's an adventure.
It's an adventure. But
All
yeah.
right. Well, that's been our show, Cinema Sit Down, for this week. Thank you to my guests for joining. Thank you all for joining us, and we will see you all next time.
Goodbye.
Bye.